This year, the Women of Achievement enjoyed the beautiful backdrop of one of the oldest botanical collections in the country. The Missouri Botanical Garden, founded in 1859 by Henry Shaw, is home to a variety of plants and natural settings. The 79-acre preserve is complemented by fountains, waterfalls, and sculptures. Highlights include the Japanese strolling garden and conservatories with distinct interior gardens. Today, the Missouri Botanical Garden is a National Historic Landmark and a center for research, education, and horticultural display.
The thing I enjoy most about the volunteer work that I'm involved in are the people that I've met and the people that have influenced my life. I think it's just a part of who I am. It's something I believe that needs to be done, and I make time for it in my day and in my life.
For the past 2 years, Barbara served as president of the board of directors of the YWCA. She's a natural for president because women's leadership is what the YWCA is all about.
The YWCA has been one of the most interesting things I think that I've done here in the city of St. Louis, because I'm intrigued and enamored with their mission, and their mission has always been the empowerment of women and children and their families.
Barbara Turkington is an accomplished women's leader. She has built her business and has served on many not-for-profit boards in our St. Louis community.
I think that not-for-profit and business are so aligned and they're so parallel because I perceive not-for-profits as a small business.
Barbara understands that not-for-profits must apply professional business practices in this economy to achieve their mission and be good stewards of the charitable dollars they receive.
Leadership development is a focus for me because I think inherently that we're all leaders.
Barbara is an effective leader. She's very straightforward, and that earns her people's trust and respect. She's results-oriented. She focuses on getting the job done, even though she has a wonderful way of helping us all have fun at the same time.
I think all of us have a talent, and having the opportunity to use that talent, I think, makes leaders of people.
I started in mental health with what was essentially a volunteer job, a live-in job, working with people newly discharged from a state mental hospital. And I found that I just really enjoyed the work. I found I was able to make a difference in people's lives. Places for People helps people with serious mental illness live independently in the community. I'm the executive director of Places for People, and I've worked there since 1975. And being the director of a relatively small organization like Places means you do a whole range of things, from being involved in program to fundraising to setting policy and working at the state level.
Francie's contribution to mental health in St. Louis is significant. Places for People is one of the model programs for persons who want to live in the community and live and work and progress and participate in some level of recovery.
It's kind of an emotional roller coaster sometimes because we see the whole range of experiences, from despair to hope, from really difficult times to recovery. For me, what's been important is seeing that people can change, that everybody can change.
Francie works in an environment where she receives very difficult clients to work with, persons who have a disorder like schizophrenia, manic depressive illness, and may have a drug abuse problem or a drinking problem, and may even be HIV positive.
There's one woman who, her experience to me is really vivid. She had an untreated mental illness for years, was hallucinating, hearing voices, seeing wolves, living in a doorway in a part of town with a lot of abandoned houses, and afraid to come in for services. And my young, dedicated staff for months went and outreached her, worked with drug dealers to develop a relationship in that particular community, and got her to a point where she was finally willing to accept housing. And once she accepted housing, she was willing at some point to talk about medication. And once she got on medication, her life just turned around. And now she walks down the street and with her head high, and you wouldn't think she was different from anyone else on Lindell Avenue. The best part of my job is seeing people change, seeing people who 5 years ago I didn't think would be alive today, blossoming, having friendships, having their own apartment, and just really feeling a part of the community. When I can see a major change in somebody's life, it makes me feel so proud to be a part of an organization like Places for People, and it makes me feel so humbled, frankly, to see how hard my staff work and how hard our clients work just to get better, just to have the things that the rest of us take for granted. I feel very good about the work we do.
Work for me was public relations, and it was my field, journalism, news reporting, and when I was approached by the executive director of the Jewish Center for Aged in 1981, I was asked to be an observer on their board of directors for a year, and when their director of community relations was retiring, I was asked to take that position. So that was my very beginnings with serving the elderly.
Alice is passionate about everything that she does, but when it comes to the elderly of our community, she is especially concerned and especially passionate.
There are so many opportunities for people to volunteer to serve the elderly. Today I serve as the president of Gateway Elder Services, the fundraising arm of the Mid-East Area Agency on Aging. The area agencies on aging in the state are responsible for home-delivered meals, nutrition sites, senior centers, nursing home ombudsmen, in-home services, respite care, adult day services programs for the elderly, things to keep people out of institutions and as independent as possible.
Alice is the one that decided she really needed to provide foundation grants, individual contributions to get this job done.
Last year, the Mid-East Area Agency on Aging served approximately 616,000 home-delivered meals. Now there are thoughts of budget cuts in the state to mental health and to the elderly. It is estimated that if these people who do not get home-delivered meals have to suffer, they will be institutionalized, which will cost the state quadruple what it costs now to take care of them living in their own homes.
Alice is the kind of role model in our community that inspires other people to get involved in dealing not only with the elderly, but any subject that they feel passionate about.
We should care about the elderly because each elderly person today was a young person once. They were a young adult once. They were young parents, and they were our plumbers and our teachers and our doctors and our attorneys, and they were vibrant members of our community. So now that they're frail and they need our care, there's no reason that anyone should ever abandon them, that we should take care of those people who took care of us.
My introduction to volunteerism started very long time ago. I was visiting the boarding school where my brother was enrolled, and the founder of the school took a liking to me, and she invited me to stay there for the summer. And then lo and behold, she found a perfect stranger, and I should really say perfect, who gave me a full tuition, room and board scholarship from the time I was 9 till I was graduating in the 12th grade. And this enormous generosity really shaped the way I looked at the world and my particular place in it. And I basically spent the rest of my life wanting to extend that very generous spirit.
I believe that what people have learned from Anna in working with her on a variety of projects is that they can step outside the bounds of the ordinary. Anna has been known to see things in a way that other people don't see things. One of her favorite sayings is that if there's one way to do something, there are 1,000 ways.
You know, some people have an idea of what they want to do when they're very young. I have always been just kind of open to everything, and my life has just kind of happened. There's no way to know another human being unless you actually work with them, and you're working very hard on a project that you're both very involved in. So with my volunteer work, I've met some incredibly funny people, inspired people, and they of course have enriched my life.
Anna has a particularly broad range of interest in many, many different cultural aspects of the community. Music, art, poetry, literature. And I believe that her interest ranges across all of these because she recognizes the importance of culture in enriching others' lives and enlightening others.
I'm actually making a political statement with my outfit because, as many people know, there's been a very long disharmony between the Chinese and the Japanese people. And there's a lot of history there, and I can understand people's point of view, but I feel like now, today is when we can live. Today is when we live. And that by my being Chinese and willing to appear publicly in a Japanese kimono type jacket is the type of activity that brings cultures together and understanding, and this is what I really am interested in.
My background is education. I retired from St. Louis Community College at Forest Park as professor of counseling 3 years ago. The reason why I volunteer at this stage of my life is because I have been blessed with a husband, a family, a supportive church, supportive friends, and I feel that I should give something back. Girls Incorporated is the newest volunteer service I have been involved in, and it is one of the most enjoyable.
Ruth is terribly effective. She comes practically as an employee. She knows what needs to be done. She has her agenda. She's done her pre-shopping, and she comes ready to work. She knows the girls, she knows the activities, and she knows the other volunteers who are spearheading the efforts.
When I go to Girls Incorporated and work with the elementary students, I get such a feeling of accomplishment. I feel that I am truly serving as a role model and that I am helping girls to aspire to go on and be successful in their lives.
Ruth really enjoys the work, and so her enthusiasm is actually contagious, and I think that's one of the things that people really enjoy when they come to one of her activities.
Faith House is an organization that started out providing housing for chemically dependent babies. I went to their fundraiser. I served every year since on their fundraiser and co-chaired it 1 year. My husband and I won the Angel Award for them. You have time to do whatever you determine you want to do. You always find time to do those things you enjoy. And I would hope you would find time to volunteer with some organizations because there are children and organizations needing your expertise.
I got started in volunteerism by watching my grandfather and my mother as a child as I grew up. My grandfather lived in a very small town in western Kansas and was always doing something for the community. And so I grew up watching him, and then my mother was the same. So when I became an adult, I just thought it was something we were supposed to do, but also something I knew that I really wanted to do.
In 1988, we formed a business partnership with the school community, which we now call Character Plus. We needed an executive director for that program, and in 1989, we brought on Linda McKay as the full-time director. She has brought the Character Plus program from 7 school districts to 80 school districts throughout the whole state.
Character Plus is a community initiative that believes that the school, the home, and the community need to work together for young people to understand values important to their lives. Character education is as critical in schools as math and science. And actually, it is fulfilling one of the main missions of schools and education, preparing our citizens for tomorrow. And it will not do us any good if we have young people come out that know math, they know science, but they don't connect it to their responsibility as a citizen in a community and how they use that. We will not have fulfilled the goal of education.
Well, Linda really is one of my very favorite people. She's always upbeat, she's always hardworking, and she tackles every job that was ever given to her with such enthusiasm that she just sweeps everybody along with her in that effectiveness, and she gets very impressive results.
When I look back on what I've been doing in Character Plus, I think what I'm most grateful for is the hope I see in young people and in teachers and in parents again. I know that for me personally, though, I've gained so much more because of the friends I've made, because of the differences in the community that I live in has happened because of something I worked with, and because of the teachers I had. I've never worked in volunteerism where I haven't had a wonderful mentor and someone that I've really gained from.
I remember my mother talking about me actually teaching children when I was 8 years old under a tree in the summer. And from that time on, through my babysitting, through my experience with children, I found myself drawn to them for a variety of reasons. And then I chose that as a profession, and then have been involved in teacher education for over 25 years.
Susie has always inspired me. From the moment I met her, I knew that she was something special in the field of early childhood. She's been a mentor, she's been a supporter, she's been a motivator, and she has literally raised the bar in professionalism in the field of early childhood.
I ask myself a lot, why do I really volunteer? Why do I think serving is important? It's identifying a passion, it's determination, it's respect, it's moving toward quality, in this case programs for young children and their families. I was involved in the beginning and one of the founders of Downtown Children's Center, which is a child care center in the city of St. Louis that serves predominantly people who work in the city and surrounding areas. Glenridge Child Care Center I founded more than 15 years ago, and it was one of the first school-age child care programs in the metropolitan area. Furthering my volunteer efforts in terms of staff development has to do with the Pre-Kindergarten Forum. This is a volunteer effort that spans, again, multi-dimensions, because I think that staff development is the most critical aspect of looking at a program for young children in terms of quality.
There are certain people who are just destined to do what they do. And I think Susie was destined to do her life's work, just like I kind of feel I am. And I think that's why we're so connected, because we have kindred spirits in terms of making a difference in the lives of families. And I just truly admire what she has done for children, families, and for the adult learner especially.
It is absolutely critical that we offer high-quality programs for children under the age of 8, number one. Number two, we have got to interface with the medical profession, the social work profession, and we've got to rally with the business and corporate communities across this country as well as in St. Louis, so that we recognize the importance of the early years.
I was raised with the idea of tikkun olam, which in Judaism means to heal the world, and that was how my family raised me, my parents, that we should try to give back something to the community in which we live. When I was a young mother, I got involved with women's issues, particularly with the ERA at that time, the Equal Rights Amendment, and from there just ended up getting involved with reproductive rights, domestic violence issues, did something in terms of breast and cervical cancer, and trying to get housing for homeless and for people with HIV/AIDS.
Eileen really exuberates quiet competence. When she sees the problem in the community that needs to be done, she's determined to find a solution, whether it be education, advocacy, direct service, funding, or immediate action. And she does this so beautifully without bringing any attention to herself.
I had the privilege in 1992 to serve with Sue Scher in the Missouri legislature. She was always there for the issues that were important to women and to children, and she was a mentor to all of us other women who came after her in the legislature. For me, National Council of Jewish Women was an organization that allowed me to get involved in lots of different issues that pertain to women. It was very fulfilling being president of NCJW and also being an advocate for their issues.
I think what people can learn from Eileen is, first of all, she is a true role model for all women in St. Louis. She sees something that needs to be done, and again, she goes about it quietly. She doesn't seek a lot of fanfare. She just looks for the best resources, the best information to get the job done in the most creative, effective, and efficient way.
I hope that for the future, volunteers are not necessary to ensure that services are there for the people who need them. I think that it's important for government to be the one to ensure that people who need services get those services that they deserve. I feel very fortunate to have been able to spend my life in the volunteer sector doing what I enjoy doing and having a very fulfilling life in doing so.
Guardian Angel is a social service agency. We do many things. We have after-school programs, summer programs for the children. We have a senior lounge in which they have a full program for seniors. We do rental, utility assistance. We have a thrift store. We also, one of my biggest things that I love is when our homeless people come in, they get to go and shop on their own instead of being handed a pair of pants or a shirt or something. I just love doing it. It's a privilege to me.
We had a senior citizen who had spent years coming to our place and enjoying the senior program, a lady very involved in the neighborhood. She got cancer. She was a very elderly woman, lived in the projects, and I just happened to find out one day that all of a sudden her unair-conditioned apartment had become air-conditioned, and that happened because of Mary Lou's generosity. Then I came to find out later that her rent had been paid several months when she didn't have any money to pay that rent. That happened because of Mary Lou's generosity. So beside the day-to-day work she does for us, she has many of her own secret projects that no one ever gets to know about unless they stumble across them.
You could always make time in your life for that, especially when you've had a lot of good things in your life. One of the other efforts that I'm involved in is the Father Support Center. It's a program for young men who have not been caring for their children, or parenting, or supporting them. And it's a training program that helps them do all of this, plus they go into job training, and it's been highly successful. There was a young man who came in the first class that they had, and he was a father who had not been caring for his children. He had some alcohol and drug problems. They put him into a rehab. His two children were in foster care, his two sons, because his wife had left, and he is now, that's been 4 years. He's bought a home. He has full custody of his children. They're in school now. He's just doing a wonderful, wonderful job.
I think what volunteers learn from Mary Lou is that generosity is not difficult, that it's its own reward, and that when you give back to people, it doesn't cost you, that it makes you more, it makes you better, it makes your life fuller.
My volunteer work makes me feel wonderful. I just thoroughly enjoy doing it. I've met so many wonderful people, and just a great feeling.
You know, back in 1978, Mrs. Rosalie Ewing asked a bunch of us young women to do a fair, a little carnival, for the opening of this Rainbow Village, which was a facility for residential living for people with mental retardation. And it was through that exposure to the people with mental retardation that I became interested in helping. And I was then asked on the board in 1978, and from that time on, I was hooked. I've served on the board with many parents of people with retardation, and I've watched their dedication, I've watched their devotion. I've seen what they've gone through with adults 40 years ago, and they would tell me what a difference it's made for them and what a difference it would have made for them if they had been able to have their children in programs much earlier.
The St. Louis ARC serves people throughout the lifespan who have developmental disabilities or mental retardation. We start serving children as young as 6 weeks of age and all the way through their life in various capacities, including the program that Connie's been very intimately involved in has been Childgarden Child Development Center, which we now run with a partner, Easter Seals of Missouri.
You get much more out of volunteering. You get much more out of it than you do putting into it. It is so satisfying to give of your time without any expectations. And you just never know what help you can provide, what friends you can make, what you can learn. You know, there's just a whole gamut of things that are benefits from volunteering.
Connie's very modest, so you're not going to get this out of her directly, but she is a tenacious volunteer. She likes to be there, right there with us, and particularly with her problem-solving skills, she has helped us figure out some incredibly difficult situations within our organization. And so tenacity is something that I really value about her.
Volunteerism has been a gift for me. It's made me more grateful. It's taught me things about myself I didn't know. It's taught me things about other people I didn't know. It's exposed me to lots of situations I would have never been familiar with. And to me, it has given me so much more than I've ever given to it.